not going to come get you. He's not going to come get you.
Always a fun day, and yes, it's egg time! I'm sorry, that was very exciting for me.
If you were that excited, you could have done the Easter egg hunt the other day, huh?
Were you guys stuffing them already?
No, they knocked over a bucket of them outside, and it was windy, and they went everywhere. Like 800 eggs all over the place.
I'm just excited about stuffing them. I'm not buying any more this year, though, because last year I got carried away.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I can anymore, actually. The rules have changed, but we have the egg season. How are you with everything, the mold thing?
They were all okay. They were all good.
I was going to text you and ask, or message you and ask, and then I think...
Yep, everything came back clear. Now just getting everything to heal up.
Oh, please have a pen in here. I didn't think to look ahead of time.
You know, yeah.
Liam goes through my purse and steals all my pens. And I have to constantly double check. I got to the bank the other day to fill out a deposit slip. Once again, he has stolen all my pens. What a 2-year-old needs with pens is beyond me. He does, however, replace his pens with toys. When he takes a pen, he does put something in return.
It is 2 o'clock.
Okay.
If he's not here, if you want to call the meeting to order.
Is Missy coming?
She's sick.
Oh, she's sick. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, call to order.
Mears, Wynn,
Here.
Hartshorn,
Here.
Chief Littleton, and Ethel Binker as president as well.
Table starting.
Here, I'll be clean ready for that.
Okay, the first topic that we have is to discuss the car show and bicentennial events.
Okay, and I've asked if you have Kristen here because you've done car shows and we'd like to have you, tell us what to do, what you can do, how we can do.
Okay.
Let this be your baby and we'll just say,
When we did the car show for Morristown, we kind of started completely from scratch. They had somebody steal all the money from the prior car show. So I have a couple people in place that can help, that are connected with several car groups, that they all show up. There's a Cadillac group, there's a Mustang group, there's all kinds of different groups of the vehicles that we're in contact with. We charge an entry fee. They get a discount if they do entry fee beforehand. We get donations for the trophies, and we actually charge more than what the trophy costs, which covers other costs of things that you do.
do you do dash plaques also?
Mm-hmm. Yep, yeah, there'll be dash plaques. And usually you do like the first 50 cars or 100 cars or however many you want to do. But for our very first year that we did it, we ended up raising $4,500. So it went pretty good for being a first time thing. And we actually did it within a month and a half because no one told me I was in charge of it until it was time, and then
telling you now.
Right. But there's lots of advertising that we found that we can do that's free or really cheap. We also did T-shirts, and then we did a raffle that people could buy the raffle tickets for. We collected donations from different places, different companies, different people, and we made a ton of money off of the raffle tickets that we did as well. But I do have I've talked to the two people, that helped with the other car show, and they both are willing to help with this one
Good.
as well, and help get different groups in contact with everything.
Okay.
But like, earlier we can start
Right.
doing it, obviously, the better
Right.
outcome you have.
So about how much space do you think is a good amount to start being first year? Why not?
I mean, we shut down our entire center of town, and it covered the entire center of town.
The venue is
It
gonna
was
probably,
about 150 cars that we had.
Yeah, it was 212 cars is what we ended up having show up.
we've been offered a property to do it on,
Okay,
worth discussing, because I think it will take discussion. Frank Hora has said we can use his property. The pros and cons of that are, pros, it might reestablish that connection with the police department, with the township, that we'd like to rebuild that friendship, that trust. The cons are, it's a public residence, it's kind of far away from the center of the township. They do have a business on the township, I don't know if that will, or on their property, I don't know if that'll help or hurt. And I'm not super familiar with his whole layout, I just know a little bit of the area, but there's one that's been offered to us.
okay. How is
Um,
parking and stuff there?
that I don't know.
Okay,
Grass parking, so
Okay.
if it rains.
right. If it rains, they don't show up anyways, because a
Right.
lot of them won't bring those cars out in the rain.
But I mean, if it rains 2 days before,
Right,
are we gonna have mud to park in?
right.
So, excuse me, we ran into that at Eastwood a couple times with the big car shows we did with British Car Days.
Okay. The other place I was thinking of is like the park in Brookville, where they do the little carnival thing.
Yeah.
Golden Gate.
Yeah.
We could potentially do Golden
Because
Gate.
that's got lots of parking, you could line them all up all the
That
way
would
through.
remove all the price flags, but,
With Golden Gate?
yeah. I mean, just to get a shelter, it would cost a little bit of money, so we'd have to talk with Brookville and see
Maybe they would
what that would be
donate it.
like,
They'd be
if
willing
we
to
can work
do.
something out.
Mhm.
Or if there's a church in the township that has a big enough parking lot that they let us use their parking lot.
Yeah.
Harvest Revival has a pretty good parking lot.
What's that?
The Harvest Revival down here.
Oh, yeah.
Where we do the voting? That's
Yeah,
voting
they
place?
might, they've got, excuse me,
You
they've got a
also
really
check
big
with
lot.
Stocksligers, if you're gonna be out on 35, Stocksligers has the, all the gravel parking on the side and everything as well.
Okay, I don't know how much of that property is theirs, I'm not real familiar with theirs
Most of it.
either.
Yeah.
So, I've been out there to do vendor events.
They own everything back behind there, and they're actually building, looks like they put up another,
greenhouse.
well, they got like
Several.
20 more slabs that
Yeah.
they're building on, so.
Okay.
Stuff that made stuff and sold items there, and we just let them keep everything that they made.
Okay.
They pay $15 for
Well,
the
yeah,
space.
like for vendors, when I put together shows, it's usually like 35 or 50.
Right.
For a booth rental, 10 by 8 space, 10 by 10 space.
Right,
They
right.
set up their own tents and do their thing, and we've got that money.
Yep. Yeah, we did all that, and it worked out really well. We had a really big outcome.
So, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off.
No,
I
you're
was
fine.
mid-thought. Did we have a timeline in mind for?
Right, of when
we
you're
wanna do
wanting to do it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we probably want to go somewhere no later than September, because then it starts to get wet and cold.
Yeah. I think we did ours in August.
August is,
But what you wanna do, and I can get on the sites of like when the other car shows are
Figure out
in
the
this
best
area,
time.
cause you wanna
Right.
make sure you're not
Right.
overlapping with one of those, or you're not gonna have a
and
good.
concourse,
Mhm.
and,
PPG Nationals over in Columbus, they'll pull a lot of cars out
Yeah.
of here.
Yeah.
right, I think the first Saturday of August is always British Car Days.
Yeah,
What do you
so you wanna
think?
be careful that you're not doing something that's, I try to stay away from something within 60 miles of
Right.
here,
Cars and coffee.
yeah, cause you'll have half your outcome that you could have had.
Exactly, right.
But we did, 2 different size trophies, and then the dash plaques.
Right.
And I have all the pricing of that. We have a really good company that did them, and they're super cheap, and they do an amazing job. And you sell them to different companies, and then they're sponsored by whatever company did that, so that their name's out there too. And then on the T-shirts, You can put whatever you wanna name the car show as, and then on the back, we did all the sponsors of people that donated, stuff like that, so that there's stuff
And
on the t-shirt.
sell advertising, sell space name on the
Mhm.
shirt.
Yeah,
So Rhonda, can we then put it to a vote at the meeting? Like, do we need to do a resolution to vote on it at the meeting?
I would suggest that, yeah.
And we'll, like, how do we phrase that today? We need to make a resolution to vote on it at the meeting, to allow Kristen to be in charge and we assist,
Set up as a committee,
set up.
Right, and then-
Kristen will set up a committee, do whatever.
and probably the first thing we need
Do
to do
we-
is come up with a
So do
date.
we make a motion to pass that resolution at the meeting?
Correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
then I would like to make a motion that at the meeting, we officially,
Today you're making a motion?
well, I make a motion that we bring it up at the meeting, that's what I'm asking. In a work
I
I
session,
don't
do
think
we
you
have
have
to
to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't
Yeah,
have to
this
do
is a
it.
working session, so we
That's what I'm
can't-
asking, in
yeah.
the work session, we don't have to. Okay, that's what I was asking the other day, like, when we do the motions and resolutions. So at the meeting, we want to make a motion or a resolution or whatever we need to do, so that we can get it on the books,
Mhm.
and that Kristen will then, we'll go from there.
okay.
I can help with vendors and such, but we'll, if you don't mind being in charge, and
Sure.
we'll make it that'll be our bicentennial celebration, car show, vendors,
Yeah.
water dunk our chief, whatever.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Now, I have a question on the financial side.
Mhm.
This is not running through the township,
Well, and that,
right, or
the
question mark?
beneficiary would be the township, but we shouldn't have any expenses that would come out. And townships can hold events as fundraisers. I can look that up in the source
So,
book, or.
I mean, who's gonna be in charge of collecting donations, and I guess you're saying they can go through the township then, because I have not researched into that.
When we did it, we had it completely separate from Morristown, it was a completely separate thing.
I'm thinking that's a good idea.
And we opened our own, nonprofit name and, all of that to do that, and it had its own account.
I like
We
that
had a
idea.
trustee appointed in the council and everything like that.
And
on the
then
board.
after all is said and done, Kristen can then hand it over, donate to the township, hand it to the township.
Right, and then you can donate from there to any, to anything that you want to do like that.
Will you be in charge of this then, or who will we?
I'd let Kristen, well, let her run the show and be in charge. If she wants to appoint somebody as her financial person, or if she wants to appoint somebody as her, I mean, she would be the committee chair, and whoever she wants under her would answer to
Okay.
her, and then she will report to us.
Okay.
And we'll just have we'll have a status during
Mhm.
the township
Mhm.
meeting.
That'd be
Kind of
good.
let us know where we're at, if she needs help, we
Yeah.
can volunteer, ask the community to pitch in a little bit and kind of flesh that committee out a little bit more.
Right.
But yeah, I think the first thing is we just have to narrow in on a date, because it'll make it easier to find a place.
Yeah, I can
Once you
have-
can deconflict between what's going on.
Yeah,
and
I can
time
have that
frame.
looked into this week, and I can get back with you guys and let you know.
Excellent. Okay.
I'm good with
That
that.
is good with that. So, Chief, I don't know what kind of time you have, so.
You can just go with your regular agenda.
Okay. Okay, not a problem. So the office assistant in zoning?
On gov deals, and everything. This last case that we had February the 12th, everybody's aware of, really showed the department of some needs and some weaknesses and places to improve on. By doing so, we created a drying room out at our building, maintenance building, thanks to road crew. They got on that and had it completed within
Well,
about 8 to 12 hours.
this is a work session, and I have entered.
No, I'm building a story.
Okay, gotcha, never mind then. Where it was going.
But with that, we found that night, our lack of transportation to bring evidence back to the department. We were,
And to take equipment to the scene.
and taking equipment to the scene. We've done several large crime scenes, search warrants to that effect. Basically, what we had sat down and discussed was doing a evidence van that would house all of our evidence, that would keep everything stored in one central location. If we needed that vehicle to come out to the scene, one of our evidence techs or somebody could jump in it and drive it out, and all of our equipment is there. It also gives us the space to put our evidence at while we're at the scene and transport it back here. We're not tying up our cruisers that we have people in the back with and everything else. We got a quote.
It also provides, like, JC understands, you guys understand with the command and control.
Oh, yeah.
And medical events.
And I
Well, then
think
you
that-
have someplace where the command center can be established, where instead of going cruise to cruise, you know where you're going, find your chain of command and who you need to report to.
And speaking of which, just off the subject, nosy question, you guys did get to maintain incident command on the murder investigation, right?
Mhm.
The whole time, okay.
Like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reached out to Byers Ford, which is where we got the last Explorer from. They gave me a quote for the Ford Transit. It's their 150 model. It's got a medium-sized roof, which means that we can stand up and walk around in it. The price is $30,394. We're able to do a lease option on that like we did with our cruisers. So you'd pay half of that this year, or whenever we decide to order it, and then the other half the year after. They also can work in pricing to put our shelving and stuff in the back. I've been pretty impressed with the types of discounts that Byers Ford gives to us compared to like Lebanon Ford and local areas. They have a vendor out there that could do the upfitting with this. Once we find a make, model of cabinets and stuff that we would want into the back of this thing, I can send that up to Tom. He'd send it over and get a quote for the upfitting for that. There's not going to be a lot of bells and whistles on this thing. Some hideaways in the grill and some lights on the back, so we have emergency lights on it, and then just the cabinets in the back.
It won't need a siren, right, because it's not an emergency.
Well, even if we need one, we have a couple of spares that if push comes to shove, oh god, we have to have a siren. It's easy enough to throw one in there with a spare.
Did you say that was an E series or an F series? E. Was it E again?
Well, will you guys need to take from anywhere else in your budget to be able to afford this vehicle, or is that okay? Like, it's not gonna run you short anywhere else, is it?
With what we have carried over from last year,
You're still good.
it's not going to hurt us.
I didn't know if this internet thing was still running up, or if that, yeah.
It's here though.
Yeah, it's here, it's been installed. So that's the price for the vehicle. Like I said, Tom gave me a website to look at for drawers and how we want to, make the back of this thing work for us. So once I send this over, and I feel pretty confident in saying that his upfitters will probably give us a better cost than what KE Rose does. Just by looking at the discounts that he's given us on cars and everything else, so.
And they'll do the installation right there at Byers of all the drawers and shelves and things?
Yep.
Cool.
They don't have a vehicle in stock with the color black, which is what we would want to match our fleet. So the build time for this is 10 to 12 weeks for Ford to build it and ship it, and then you're looking at probably another 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know how far behind the upfitter is over in Columbus, but probably another 4 weeks to get it upfitted and delivered. So they're looking about 16 weeks maybe at the max. So that would take care of the evidence problem, storage, transportation, and everything for the department. The other vehicle, we're talking about the detective's vehicle. that I had talked about at the last meeting, there was a Tahoe that I was getting prices on. Looking at some other different options, with that, if we wanted to stick with, an Explorer, again, black to keep it in the fleet, downsize the Tahoe to the Explorer, a little bit better gas mileage and not as big because we would have the evidence van and everything to do what we need. This vehicle would only be equipped with the interior lights in the front window and rear deck light in the back, and a siren. The cost for the vehicle on that is $37,687. That's a 2020. They don't have any 19s available. This vehicle would be designated as a detective's vehicle and as a supervisor vehicle. So if Tina needs the vehicle to go do some type of surveillance, running to meetings in Columbus, Cincinnati, those types of things, she would, take this car and do those things. Her and Doug work opposite shifts, so if Sergeant Hessler needed, to use a vehicle to run to the crime lab and leave somebody here working the road, we're not tying up, an additional cruiser for that. And of course, he goes to meetings on my behalf and everything as well, so this would give him a vehicle to take. Right. So, speaking with Tina, it was kind of her idea with sharing this car. She doesn't necessarily want a take-home car. She doesn't feel that it would be justifiable for the township to be paying for the fuel for her to go back and forth to home. And everything, so she's perfectly content with driving her car to and from. Then this car would just, sit here, and then she would need to go somewhere, that would be the car that she would take.
Well, and I think if two people can use it as opposed to one, that gets more, more bang for the buck, so to speak.
Right.
And then also, since it's not driven nearly as hard as a regular patrol vehicle,
Right.
then when the oldest 19 starts to go out, then that's something that can be rotated into the fleet if need be, so could potentially be a money saver down the road.
So for these two vehicles, what kind of term are you looking at lease-wise?
For lease-wise, what was our last, was they a 2-year lease?
Yeah.
So you would pay the half
Gotcha.
up front and then the remaining the second half.
This is kind of the standard.
That is a standard ever since I've been here.
Yeah.
They do longer ones, but they're kind of convoluted. And
Yeah. Keep it simple. Okay. So do we, again, we'll need to vote on that to approve the purchase of the two cars at the meeting.
Yes.
So we'll need to make sure that's on the agenda.
Okay.
Anything else?
The other thing I don't think it's part of the vehicle, but
Okay.
Okay.
I just put on the work session agenda what you had stated to me, so I'll put that together.
we can discuss it Tuesday, that's no big deal.
All right, the fire and EMS contract, is that something that's there as well?
No, I can go over that. I did put the revised Brookville and New Lebanon fire contracts in each of your trustee drawers last week. I hope you both were able to read through them and look at them. I was able to kind of tear a little bit more into it, because I hadn't done that since we started all the discussion. A couple things that I just wanted to kind of go over with the trustees. And I don't know if you brought your contracts with you or not.
I pulled it out of my drawer the other day. I read it over it. The only concern I had was that one typo and it was corrected.
Right. That will work out. That's fine. You can go ahead and pass.
I'll move these back, but here's Brooksville, New Lebanon, if you wanna, I have another copy. If you wanna kind of put between, I
Sure.
guess they're the same. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just get one
I
and the other one, and you can kind of follow along with what I, came across and direct me. On the second page, that's two-sided, so.
Yeah.
Item number 4, I just want to make sure, it says the township will adopt the 2017 OFC. I just want to make sure that you trustees do read that code before you do sign the contract.
Mhm.
Which one?
Number 4.
Oh, yeah.
OFC.
And number 5, if you want to review that, although it does not pertain to the trustees, reading that the village fire chief shall have the authority as set forth in section 13017-701 of the Ohio Administrative Code. It's probably a good idea for you trustees to read through that as well.
Okay.
Number 7. Let me know when you're ready. I'll continue.
Yeah.
The trustees shall also pay to the village an additional 3% increase above the 2018 distribution of $135,345. That is incorrect. That dollar amount, the 2008, was $132,404.28. So there's a difference of $2,940.72, and I don't know where they came up with that. I do have the fund ledger here, report for 18. Even if you take 19, it'd be $137,118.11. So we'll need to discuss where they came up with that figure. Which of course then the 3% that'll change the 3% as well.
Right.
And I do have that listed here. I can make a copy for you trustees. I think the other issue I had, I guess just on whatever direction we go for number 9, that the trustees shall pay to the village of the Section 7 additional funds due to the village or city that have been deferred in any previous calendar year. Just make sure you have a plan B if any levy does not pass. I think we just need to also consider that. You're not for sure what residents will pass or decline on the levy. So you got to figure out somewhere where that additional money is going to come. I think you just have to have a plan B.
That's
Right.
still my biggest question.
On number 11, it says, the village may provide a summary upon request for services billed by the village. I would recommend the village will provide a summary for services billed by the village, not upon request and not may. I would have that removed or
Agreed.
suggested. Number 14, the village, I'm going down to the second sentence, the village shall also provide a copy of the fire department budget to the trustees at the start of each calendar year upon request. Take upon request out. I think they should submit that anyway. Number 15, the village fire chief and the village manager may meet with the trustees, will meet with the trustees once per quarter to discuss financial and operation use in the township. I also think the quarterly financial statement should be provided, so that needs to be, I would suggest be in there as well.
Now, this is strictly for the New Lebanon contract. Are we making the same changes with the Brookville?
They're the same document, basically, except for one's a city, one's a...
And I'm just reading from the...
Yeah.
The message.
Content-wise,
So it's gonna be the
yeah.
same,
Yeah.
okay.
Number 16, the village fire chief or his designee, again, will attend, not may, one township trustee meeting per quarter of the calendar year to discuss fire and emergency medical services in the township. I guess we can leave a request for attendance can be initiated by either party, or if you want the president of the trustees just to reach out to them. Or any trustee at that point.
If we're already stating that they
Well, yeah,
need
we
to.
will, I guess we don't need that. to
Right.
request
Yeah,
that,
strike
so
that.
let's
It's kind of
remove that.
redundant.
On number 19, should this agreement be terminated prior to the date stipulated in item 16? I think that's supposed to mean item 17, because there is no date in 16.
Yeah.
Those are some changes that I went over. It's up to you trustees whether you would like to adjust the wording and corrections, and just some suggestions for you trustees to look over those codes and read that.
Right.
Also, again, with the 3%, since we're off on the 2018 collection, the 3% requesting over 3 years for both departments for 20, 21, and 22 is $24,554.90. A replacement levy would generate $15,216. Times that by 3 years, $45,645. So the difference between the $45,000 and the $24,000, there is an additional generated revenue of $21,090.10. If you divide that by the two entities over the 3-year extra revenue, they'll be collecting $10,545.05. Again, that goes back to the levy wording in the contract. If you want that to change to stay in the fire fund here at Perry, or if you want to give them that additional revenue, it will have to be adjusted in the contract as well. I did get with the county, again, to go over what we can option do, a replacement levy, bring it up to current property values, and that would generate $15,216. You can do a replacement levy with an increase, so it's a 2.5 mil now, you can make it a 2.75, a 3 mil, etc. But if the levy fails, you lose it all. Whereas the first one with the replacement levy, that would generate $15,216. If it failed, you would still continue with that levy.
Okay.
Or you can do an additional levy besides our current levy we have now with the different millage rates, which I have those. It is going to be difficult to know what each property owner will be paying due to the auditors reevaluating property. So you can kind of get it in the ballpark range, you're not going to get it exact.
Is the difference there between the lose it all or not lose it, was that where the confusion originally
I believe so.
stemmed?
Yes.
And so we've clarified
Okay.
that now. So if we do a renewal at the 2.5.
We have a continuous, we will not be doing a renewal.
Okay.
We have a continuous levy. We can do a replacement levy.
A replacement, I'm sorry.
Which will generate,
So if we do the
15,000.
replacement levy,
compared to an additional levy, 0.25 would generate $27,423, half a mil, $54,847, 3/4 of a mil, $82,270, and I'll stop at the 1 mil of $109,694.
yeah, I am not a fan of an additional levy at all. I just don't think
Now,
it's fair to
resident-
do that
Okay,
right
excuse
now.
me, I'm sorry. Residents can go on the auditor's site, even though in 2013 it was voted in as a continuous levy at a 2.5 mil. The the millage now is 2.351502. So residents can go in at the property value of 35%. It's very easy to do on the auditor site, pretty user-friendly. Divide that by 1,000, then you're going to times it by the 2.351502, and actually that should be on there as well. You should be able to see it. So if you want to get the difference, then you would go in and do the same thing, but you would replace it with the 2.5. You would get your difference, and then that would, residents would just have to calculate it themselves. So again, that is going to change with the property values adjusting. What I'm probably hearing is residential properties will increase with value.
As a county-wide thing.
Correct.
I just heard, yeah.
So that's all I have. I was just trying to give you a little bit of information regarding the fire levy, because that's something that we need to sign probably by the end of the month, but there is some wording in the contract that I saw that I thought, I didn't know if you trustees had looked at that or...
Yeah,
And again, the dollar amount is incorrect. It's $132,404.28.
yeah, and the changes I had voiced previously had all been fixed, so I didn't see any issues with anything else, but I agree with the wording that you suggested.
Is there any questions for me on that?
So when is the absolute latest that we have to have a decision on what we're doing with this levy?
To put a levy on the ballot, it would probably be that first week in August. I don't know the exact date. The contract
I know we're already
expires at the end of
past.
March. Well, there is a 90-day extension, so at the end of March, we should be signing something.
The bottom line is we just need to make a decision and move on with it.
I did contact also, I did a public records request with the Village of New Lebanon. Their carryover balance for the fire fund beginning January 1st, 2020 was $947,948.98. Brookville's carryover was 2.2 mil.
Yeah, I just, my feeling is this seems so much more applicable to New Lebanon than it does to Brookville, because we're talking different scales, but it's the same across the board.
What are you talking, I don't understand.
The 3%, the increases, New Lebanon being a smaller,
Okay.
I don't necessarily mean smaller department, but you guys don't have like that big giant firehouse and the amount of so forth. I just feel like this, if there was some way that we could do one for New Lebanon and one for Brookville that seemed percentagely appropriate for the 2 point whatever mil versus the 900 and some thousand carryovers, you know, one needs it more than the other, is my feeling. And we have no way of doing that, is it?
No,
Yeah. Okay.
If I can have those contracts back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're gonna change the wording?
No,
No.
it's not my responsibility to change the wording.
Okay, but you'll request those changes be made, or what happens with the request, the
Well,
wording that we just
I don't
discussed?
think we can make a decision. It'll have to be in Tuesday night's meeting, and
Okay.
you guys go back and see if you notice any changes. Take some of the suggestions that I said, and, you know, yay or nay, and then we'll have to go back to Brookville and New Lebanon.
We discussed that also Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's just to give you the information.
Yeah, I'd like to get it
So,
done sooner than later.
And those contracts still have to be voted on by our councils for approval too. So our council meeting would be the Tuesday after yours.
Okay, so if the verbiage is needing to be changed, it was my question as to how, when and how are we gonna get that expedited so that this isn't dragging out?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you're shooting for the end of the month, then our last meeting is the week after yours for March.
So we can address this at next Tuesday night's meeting here, any changes presented to Brookville, New Lebanon. You'll have a council meeting the following?
Well, the finalized contract is what the council would vote on.
Okay.
So once both parties would agree to the contract, then the contract would be presented for vote by the council.
Okay, Dale?
I have a question. Is the township gonna run this by legal counsel before you approve this?
Yeah.
I would hope so. If you
Yeah,
do any changes.
Missy's been talking.
All right.
I guess we should probably all sit down and think at some point, shouldn't we?
Pardon?
I know we've been doing the emails, and I know Missy's been in touch with Nathan, but do we need to, if Dale brings a good point, do we all need to sit down with him to discuss this before it gets voted on? Or, you know, how do we, as far as it being a contract representing the township, how do we go about that? Can we
Well, I'd
request
say at
him?
Tuesday night's meeting, if we'll all pull together the contract, see what wording you want changed, and then I can send it to
Somebody give him a call, see if
Nathaniel.
he can be here Tuesday night.
Change your mind.
Can we do
Or I can just email it to him
Okay.
on Wednesday morning.
Okay. I know we've had communication, but I'd just like to make sure, based on everything else we've been chatting about, that it's all by the books.
I would say for right now, look over the contract and see if there's any other additional changes. If you're gonna take any of the changes that, I suggested, then we'll pull it all together on
Well,
Tuesday.
if that's the same as the copies that were in our drawers that we looked at the other day, I had no other changes to suggest. But I like the ones you made, I'd like to adopt those on Tuesday, that we make a motion to implement the changes you suggested, and then get this ball rolling. I like it to not be dragged out any more than it has to, just get her done and move on at this point.
Well, Tuesday we'll go over with, Missy on the changes. Will you be here at Tuesday night's meeting, Tracy?
I can get with you, I'll email you, I'll have to look at my schedule.
Okay.
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 Anyone have anything else? All right. With that, I make a motion that we adjourn